When do we have a gang problem? Right, Jose. I mean, broken homes and yeah, gang problems. That's a huge problem. That's gonna growing up in a broken home is extremely difficult and hard and has horrible side effects. So yeah, I mean, we don't have family like we have a breakdown in our country, and it starts at the individual level. It starts at the family level. Like we can sit here and talk about this is actually I think it's kind of a big deal, frankly. It's like I love just as much as the next guy to get into the nitty gritty of politics and counting seats in the Senate and counting seats in the House and talking about policies on the margins here and there and tax policy and sort of immigration this and immigration that and how should we tweak the student loan program or what should we do with student loan program, what should we do with Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, how should we handle our foreign policy, how much federal government should be spending, what should they be spending it on. All of these things I think are really important and things to discuss, but I think the root of our problems in America are come down to the individual and then the family, and then from there city governments, and then county governments, and state governments, and then the federal government. And this huge obsession with the federal government I don't think is the most effective way to go about trying to change the world, because the federal government is really just going to be the ultimate result of all of those other things underneath building it up. And if you have an individual at the individual level who has never studied the Constitution, or the reason we have a limited government, or the reason we have all of these checks and balances and separation of powers and et cetera, in the Constitution, you have an individual who's never studied the impact of government policies and the long term, and you have individuals who are turned away from God and turned away from religion and have made themselves basically given up on learning, and they just sort of watch TV and do nothing. And then you have people not engaged in family life, broken homes, following these some liberal mindsets of just do whatever you want personally, have a good life personally, like only get married if it benefits you, on and on and on. You're going to end up with a broken society and then you're going to end up with the federal government that's way out of control, is totally corrupt, is running massive deficits and going into massive debt. And you're going to have people turning to the government to replace the emptiness that they feel in their lives from not having a relation or a sort of religious life or a belief in God. And you're going to have them turning to the federal government and refusing to sort of hold the politicians' feet to the fire about respecting some of our constitutional principles. You're going to have the situation we have now. So like all of this stuff goes down to the very basic individual level, where like some people say, well, I actually feel this way a lot. Like we can't do anything to fix our government because it's so massive. It's such a problem. And I think the main thing you can do to fix the country is have a good family, be a family man, have a good family impact, also be a good individual, and try to study the history of the country and why we have our reasons, to try to develop a relationship with God or a belief in God, and then have a family that believes in God, and be a religious leader as a man in a family. Those are the ways that you can actually, I think, have a actual impact, positive impact on society, as opposed to like, making YouTube videos about, like federal government political issues, or congressional votes or this or that. It's like, I think that's not getting at to the root of the problem.